This afternoon, our discussion would be how to transform schools through learning and development mindset. And in this discussion, we would try to understand what does it take to influence learning teams? How can schools manage expectations of its clients? And why do we need to reboot our URL? Say that with me, URL. Or unlearning, relearning, and learning focus. So these are the discussions that will be shared to everyone, and we will keep it open to the question and answer, the reactions, the hand raising. We'll do all of this very proactively together. All right. Also, we would be welcoming special people who took their time, who paid us their time to be with us this afternoon. So ladies and gentlemen, before we formally start and before I formally offer you our best gift for this afternoon, our guest speaker, I have requested two beautiful people who are warriors for education themselves. I'd like to start with my favorite dean, Dr. Del Carmen, to please come in and share us his thoughts and message. Prof, short notice, but you've always shown up. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much, Bryce. And I'm really very privileged to be part of this webinar that you have organized. And I think it's really very timely that we talk about transformation, because that's what this pandemic is forcing all of us to go into a transformation of some sorts. But as it has always been, transformation has always been difficult, especially during this time when we are getting into a different normal. It's not just simply new normal, it's something different, and we need to be able to harness all our innovativeness and creativity. No? But in spite of the situation that we are in right now, education cannot stop. Education has and should continue. Man over the centuries have evolved primarily because of his ability to transmit and transfer know-how and knowledge to the next generation. And we cannot stop doing that, because if we do, we will become extinct. But today, because of all of this situation, we may have to keep our minds open, because we need to really think out of the box, maybe even get rid of the box, so that we can address the situation in a different manner, in a different strategy. So I'm very excited for this webinar this afternoon, and I hope that all of us will start rolling up our sleeves, as you have earlier said. We need to be at the forefront. We need to be on the battleground. We need to be inside the arena, so that we can really create something different and something new for the sake of our for the sake of our students. Thank you, Bryce.
Thank you so much. You've heard a wonderful message from one of the members of the Board of Trustees of the Cocopeia. Now we have a survivor, a person I admire, a leader, an educational leader whose heart illuminates and inspires, and whose courage truly beats up any odds. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the Regional Director of the National Capital Region, Dr. Virginia Akyat.
Yeah. Hello. Amazing afternoon to all my fellow educators the different officials and leaders in education, our respected speakers for today. I am glad to know that we are all COVID affirmative. I would say COVID affirmative because the result of this COVID has really changed us tremendously. Letter C, we are now Christ-like. Now, we became, we act with so much humility now. We recognize the sufferings of Christ. We also are now very cooperative, and we tend to almost, follow all the 10 commandments of the Lord. Yeah. We are also very obedient, di ba? Before, without this COVID, we seem to be hard-headed, but now we are becoming very obedient and law-abiding citizens. We also are very valuable now. We go for volunteerism. And with this activity that you are having this afternoon, we are more imaginative and creative to mitigate the issues brought about by this pandemic. And I would say also, we are very dutiful now to man, to God, and to our country. So COVID really has brought us positive things. We can already breathe fresh air. The fish, the frogs can already croak this time. I'm just surprised. We could see now grasshoppers. We could see birds chirping on top of our rooftops, no? And everybody is really getting adjusted. Yeah. So, my dear friends, I hope you are staying safe and healthy amidst these disruptions of this COVID pandemic. We are aware that it is not really easy for everybody, for all of us, for our families, for our students, for our parents and friends.
For the information of everyone in the room and those who are watching us in FB Live, our speaker today, the Global Head Talent Transformation at Wipro Digital Operations and Platforms. And he is known to be a thought leader of international repute in the HR and the L&D space. He has over 20 years of experience in various leadership roles in several leading IT and ITS organizations. Prior to joining Wipro, our speaker worked with HP, Microland, Computer Garage, and a few other organizations. He has an extensive experience in setting up and running learning and development functions for organizations in India and international locations. He has also led leadership development, capability building, and talent management efforts in various organizations. Some of the best-in-class initiatives led by him has received industry recognition as well. He speaks regularly in various national and international fora on topics related to HR, learning and development, corporate culture, and spirituality. He has spoken at conferences organized by CII, NHRDN, IIM, Bangalore World HRD Congress, World Education Congress, HR Tech World Congress, Southeast Asia Satsang, and other prestigious national and international organizations. His articles have also been published in various journals and magazines abroad and in India locally. He is in the editorial board of Ikakshara, a quarterly e-magazine of HR and L&D practitioners. Also, World HRD Congress has recognized our speaker as one of the top 25 most talented training and development leaders in the world. Moreover, Global Knowledge Management Congress has conferred the Knowledge Management Leadership Award on our speaker as well. And recently, Popular HR Human Factor featured him in their 2016 Best Human Resource Head in India. Ladies and gentlemen, my honor, my pleasure to present to you our resource speaker and co-advocate for the Brainshare, Mr. Surya Prakash Mohapatra.
So thank you, Dr. Bryce, for this wonderful introduction and also setting the context about today's session. And today we're going to talk about what does it take to influence learning teams in our universities? How do we enable our learning teams? What can schools and universities do to manage expectations of their clients? We will talk a little bit about what are the expectations of our clients today in the universities and schools for primarily students and of course corporates and the industry, and why and how we need to reboot our URL paradigm, which is unlearning, learning, unlearning, and relearning. Let me start with a very important famous quotation by the evergreen Peter Drucker, the management guru, and he had shared his perspective on the education, on the university education. Peter Drucker in the year 1997, almost about 27 years, about 23 years ago, said something like this. He said, 30 years from now, the big university campuses will become relics. Universities won't survive. It is as large a change as when we first got the printed book. So when we first got the printed book, that was a major change in the history of education and the history of learning. And Peter Drucker says, 30 years from now, and he said this in the year 1997, 30 years from now, these universities are probably not going to survive. But I think he was very clear. I think the inference from his statement, if you have to make an inference, I don't know whether it's going to be, does it mean the doomsday for universities or does it mean something else? Irrespective of his prediction, irrespective of what's the meaning or the essence behind what he wanted to say, one thing was very clear, that he indicated that universities and university education are heading for a crisis. They're heading for a crisis. And that's the reality today. I think his prediction is slowly coming true. The university education as a whole is facing a major crisis. But what's interesting about a crisis, the crisis could either be negative or it could be positive. The crisis could mean the end of something, or it could mean the beginning of a new era, a beginning of a new world, beginning of revolutionizing change. So as we get into this webinar and as we get ready for the new era, for the new world, I very strongly believe that this crisis means a new opportunity for all of us. While crisis could mean getting into a tailspin, it could also mean a great opportunity. As the industries, organizations, corporates, governments are getting ready for the new opportunity, our universities also need to get ready for the new opportunity. Before we talk about the new opportunity, let's understand the crisis a little bit more. And before we talk about the crisis, let's understand what are the trends which are impacting university education today. What are the external factors? What's happening in our economy, in the industry, in the society, in the world